He raised the New England Patriots from the depths of mediocrity to the brink of a championship. But when Bill Parcells departed, many believed so did their resilience. Critics questioned whether the Patriots could stare the league's best eye to eye and still come out on top. Last Sunday, that question was answered.
This is the mark of a good team. If we come back out with 24 more points on them, we got to kill them.
And the stage was set. The machine he created, he must now dismantle. Enter a Jets team, crafted in Parcells' own image.
They can't cover me. They know they can't cover me. And they coach know they can't cover me. I got a hell of a reputation, don't I?
A band of expatriates designed to match New England's swagger. Tonight, New England can take another step away from a turncoat's legacy. For New York, one step toward defining a season's success or failure. A benchmark game for two teams, and one man looms over both sidelines.
Well, we welcome you on what should be a really good night for Monday Night Football. Fall in New England and a little storyline or two in this game, perhaps. Mike Tirico, along with Sterling Sharpe, and sitting in for Tom Jackson is Mike Golic. Good to have you with us. Mike, of course, is making his second appearance with us here once last year on the NFL Tonight on a regular basis.
Got to keep that defensive thing going here. Just, you know. Well, we'll talk later.
Well, you know, they sub in defensive linemen, you know, good rotation every once in a while. Can you make it through the full 90 minutes? I know you do 30-minute shows well.
Yeah, I might wear out. I might need the oxygen in a little while.
Okay, well, we've got Jaws and Mort and a bunch of people standing by, so you hang in there if you need help. Also, on our docket tonight, we go backstage with Curtis Martin, who tells us about his return to Foxborough to run against his old team. We'll show you the man who has replaced Martin and equaled his productivity, rookie running back Robert Edwards. And our distant replay takes us back to the last time the Jets really had an on-field personality, when the sack exchange rallied the fans and fortunes of Gang Green. That's all later, but we start the night off with Sal Paolantonio in New England for Tuna Bowl 3. How you doing, Sal?
Michael, good evening. It is a perfect, crisp, clear New England night here for a great football game between the Jets and the Patriots. There is fall foliage in full bloom, and so is the anticipation. I can tell you that I-95, which we just came off of, is a virtual parking lot coming north from New York, south from Boston. A lot of fans arriving from both places to see this game. But let's get right to the injury report. Curtis Martin, who missed last week's debacle in St. Louis, is a go, I'm told, by the Jets. So is Jumbo Elliott. The offensive line coach Bill Muir just told me a few minutes ago that Jumbo went through the back spasms, did not practice much this week, but is fighting through it and will start, which is good news for Vinny Testaverde. Dave Wallabaugh, however, the center for the New England Patriots, will wear a cast from that hand injury on his left hand. So we've got to watch the quarterback exchanges with Drew Bledsoe. One game-time decision is James Farrier, who's had a knee problems, kept him out most of the season. Bill Parcells will make the decision at the last minute, Mike.
All right, Sal, I'll be back to you throughout the next 90 minutes. Wallabaugh, very important, and so is Farrier, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But step back and look at the big picture for both teams, starting with the Jets, Mike.
Well, first, let's talk about what this means. If the Jets lose this game, they fall 3 behind New England. If they win, their 3 wins all against AFC opponents. Now, that works well for you later on in the tie-breaking system. And, of course, we have Bill Parcells going with the nicey-nice this week. Drew Bledsoe, it's the best I've ever seen him play. The Patriots, I don't think anybody can beat him. Well, the Pats aren't buying none of that. Say that's just Bill being Bill. And speaking of Bill, he is the soup du jour quarterback is Vinny Testaverde right now. Glenn Foley had the long leash. Why did he lose it? Well, 0-3. That'll do it every time. Vinny's got it. He's 2-0. But let me tell you, if he starts to struggle again, you're going to see that turnstile. I went through that in Philly with Randall Cunningham and Jim McMahon. That can cause some problems on the team chemistry. And Sterling, that's something I don't know if Bill Parcells has. In this day and age of players, I don't know if he has the type, and we'll talk about that later, the type of player that he wants. But I think the Patriots are sitting a little better.
Bill Parcells, I heard he's full of it, and he's full of a lot more. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Pete Carroll, head coach of the New England Patriots, said that and a lot more. Taking on Bill Parcells, and I think what that does for his team is to let everyone know what he's doing is he is ready for this football game. He knows that he has the team to back it up. He knows that he has to go out and let his players play. He's setting the stage tonight to let everyone in the AFC and the NFL know. Of course, Bill Parcells drafted a lot of these players, but tonight he's going to prove this is no longer Bill Parcells' team, Mike. This is his team.
Remember, there are 7 Pats on the Jets,
Yes.
Parcells guys, and half a dozen assistant coaches
Yes.
who are with the Pats. So there are a lot of people on both sides who are watching this. And the significance we mentioned, but here is the standings to show you the significance. If the Pats win, they maintain their division lead of 2 over Miami. Remember, they play the Dolphins coming up here in a week, of a game, I should say. If the Jets win, the fun begins because 4 teams will be separated by 1 game, and that includes the Buffalo Bills, where today all Bills fans were talking about what a difference the presence of Doug Flutie makes. In his first start in nearly a decade, Flutie led Buffalo over previously undefeated Jacksonville. The second straight home game, the Bills handed a previously unbeaten team its first loss of the season. Wade Phillips, no answer today as to who will start for the Bills in our Sunday nighter against Carolina. It wasn't Flutie's numbers yesterday, but the leadership, the ability to do things like this. Fourth quarter, the long pass to Eric Moulds, down 6, ruled a touchdown initially. In fact, he was down after 2 incompletions. Flutie had a 4th down situation from the 1, a busted play where Thurman goes the wrong way, but Flutie uses the speed to get in the end zone on the boot for the touchdown, and the Buffalo Bills win. As you see, Doug Flutie, the fans love him. He's enjoying that familiar role as the underdog and the crowd favorite.
When I'm on the field, I try to compete. I think a lot of that is people rooting for the underdog, people rooting for the guy that a lot of people say can't do it. We shouldn't be doing it. There's no way. So, you know, I think a lot of it is that end of it. The other thing is I just, you know, play from the heart. Go out and do whatever I have to. I don't know that I could do it textbook all the time.
Well, we bring in our quarterback on this show, Ron Jaworski, who's at NFL Films. Ron, not textbook, but a textbook quarterback controversy with the fans in terms of Buffalo coach Wade Phillips. What would you do in this situation?
Well, Mike, I'm normally a believer that a player should not lose his starting job because of an injury. But this situation is obviously very unique. In fact, it's magical. I would have to stay with Flutie. His touchdown run yesterday to win the game was a broken play. There are very few quarterbacks who would have had the wherewithal in that situation, the playmaking ability to turn that miscue into a touchdown. And, you know, it's amazing in this high-tech age we now live in where we measure height and weight and speed and vertical jump, intelligence. We still can't measure a player's heart and his desire to win. If we could, Doug would be a first-round pick. On this alone, he's earned another opportunity to continue the magical ride, Mike.
Doing, Ron, some of those small things like we saw there, throwing the little pass to Jay Reamersma and the block to go with it. Those are the things that really excite the fans in Western New York. Let's bring in Chris Mortensen from Atlanta. Ralph Wilson, the owner, got the game ball, but the Bills owner turned 80. That's why he got the game ball. He's got another headache, which involves numbers. The financial twist on this, not just in terms of paying Rob Johnson a lot of money, but the financial twist on what goes on with attendance and gate receipts up there.
Well, that's right. And I spoke. Now, he was a pretty happy guy today. Mr. Wilson was turning 80, had a big party. Of course, Sunday's game. They had 77,000 fans in the stands, but they are still $2.5 million short on their suite sales. They've sold their private suites, the luxury suites, but they need those club seats sold. If they don't sell these by December 1st, they do not get the state money that they need to renovate that stadium, and then they're really going to be in a crunch. Now, Ralph Wilson says that alone, with all the excitement around Doug Flutie, is not going to influence the club's decision on which quarterback to play. But what's in it for Doug Flutie, you might ask? You know, Doug Flutie only makes $325,000. That was a bargain. That's because the Bills were the only team out of 30 who had an interest. He does have incentives. He might make as much as $1 million, for instance. He made some change yesterday when he rushed for a touchdown. But I know this, Ralph Wilson, pretty happy, hopes that fans will respond, but he says it's a blue-collar town. Sometimes those club seats, tough to sell, Mike.
People aren't expecting much from the Bills, but if the Jets win tonight and the Bills are a game back in the East, now you got to start thinking, hey, we're in this with everyone else. Mort's coming back later with some news on Troy Aikman's return. We'll keep an eye on that. But more now on Doug Flutie, and for that we welcome another old Boston College guy, Mike Lupica, to the show for his Monday Night Minute. Mike?
Perhaps the 2 most interesting players to come into the NFL this season are Randy Moss and Doug Flutie. 19 teams didn't want Moss. Nobody wanted Flutie for about 10 years. But if the geniuses who evaluate football players in the National Football League couldn't properly evaluate a 6'4" kid who can outrun everybody and catch everything, imagine how confused they were by a 5'9" quarterback who didn't fit the golden boy snapshot they all carry inside their head about what an NFL quarterback looks like. Flutie's back in the league with the Bills, and he did something yesterday against the unbeaten Jaguars he's done his whole football life. He figured out a way to win the game, then did that in a style more interesting than just about anything that happened in the sport on this Sunday afternoon, at least east of San Francisco. He could have been doing this in the NFL in the 90s instead of in Canada, despite his height, if there had been just one coach with enough imagination and nerve to give him a real chance. I've watched Doug Flutie since Boston College, and I've seen the whole show. I know what kind of talent he has, what kind of flair, what kind of arm, and what kind of heart. Anybody who still doesn't get it should be sentenced to a lifetime of watching Trent Dilfer. Mike?
Mike, thank you. While one NFL star of the 80s is basking in his return, another is in the news again for a run-in with the law. Ex-Giant Lawrence Taylor arrested in Florida at 2:10 in the morning. He bought $50 of crack cocaine from an undercover cop. At a court session a few hours ago, LT charged with the purchase of crack cocaine, possession of crack cocaine, and possession of drug paraphernalia. After buying the cocaine, police went into Taylor's hotel room and found drug paraphernalia in what they say was, quote, plain view. Taylor, after being freed on $15,000 bond, gives his version.
I was set up like a mother, and I tell you what.
I spoke with an informant who said he smoked with you.
I'm tell you what, if you see an informant that smoke with me, you bring him out and I'll kiss his black, the white, whatever he got. This is total bull. I'm sorry about my language, but man, that's when I get. And I can't wait to go to court and get this straight. This is total bull.
A female employee of Taylor's company was also arrested on similar charges and was also released on bond. Much of tonight's focus in the Monday night game centers around LT's old coach, Bill Parcells, who has coached and built Super Bowl teams with the Giants and the team that got to the Super Bowl with the Patriots. He left the Pats in great shape, now off to what he has said is his last stop, rebuilding the Jets. His record with the Green so far, 11-10, has us asking you this question. How would you grade Bill Parcells' rebuilding job of the Jets to this point? You can log on to ESPN.com. We'll share some of your responses and get our panel's opinion later in the show. Ahead on Monday Night Countdown, much more on the Jets and Pats and the Jet who was a Pat, why leaving New England was not as tough as you might think.
What made the decision easy for me was simply that it was Parcells. Had it been another team, another place, another coach, you know, I would have fired.
Curtis Martin's backstage. Also, penalties, a Niner problem all year. Problem for the Niner opponent yesterday. We'll update the health of Chris Chandler. Will the quarterback of the NFC West co-leaders be able to go this Sunday? And how Randall and the Vikings rate among the best starts in league history. Monday Night Countdown. Get you ready for an October night in New England as we continue.
At Transamerica, we have insurance products and investments for retirement that'll help you plan for your next career. The people in the pyramid, working for you. With Transamerica Life Insurance and your estate plan, you can be sure your money will go where you want it to go. The people in the pyramid, working for you.
Monday Night Countdown is brought to you by DoubleTree Hotels, Guest Suites and Resorts. Sweet dreams from DoubleTree. And by Transamerica. The people in the pyramid are working for you.
If you watched all the games yesterday, this is the one that really had you talking. Niners, Colts, and some questionable calls. This called holding on Jeff Burris. Terrell Owens locked up, but the flag came, and what happened? Just a few plays later, they were able to score. Or were they? Would J.J. Stokes' feet have come down if he was not pushed out of bounds? That's the question. After saying no, the official right there nearby, another one eventually says yes later. Then another holding penalty called. I think Jim Mora was upset by these bad calls.
When one of the officials comes up to me and it's a penalty called on us, and the other guy that's right there, and he's up there arguing and trying to sell the point that it wasn't a penalty, and he came back and tells me a minute after that, if anything, it was an offensive penalty, then I have a hard time thinking that these guys did a good job. I have a real hard time. So when that kind of thing happens, to me, that's a horrible job. Horrible job. And I don't want to say that we lost the game because of the officiating. I don't believe that, but I guarantee it contributed.
Well, they lost the game on a last-second field goal. Chris Mortensen, what's the league reaction to the understandable but still really not allowed frustrations by Jim Mora?
Well, Mike, they don't have an official reaction, but Jim Mora is not going to get fined for his comments like some coaches may have, because the league knows that, in fact, those officials blew those calls yesterday, costing the Colts maybe 17 points. None more glaring than the play you showed a little bit ago when Jeff Burris gets locked up there with, I believe, Terrell Owens, not only because of the 5-yard rule, but in that case, he's holding his ground, which he's entitled to. Might have been the receiver that initiated the contact. And, of course, Steve Young made the great tackle there. But the thing about it here is the Colts would like to see officials disciplined, because it has happened before. Bill Cowher, remember the 12 men on the field incident? Those officials were docked a game check, but the league's position is we don't fine officials for judgment, but procedural errors. In this case, a lot of bad judgment, Mike Golic. Not a good day for the officials. Jim Mora was right. It was horrible.
Oh, he was horrible, and he didn't want to say it cost him the game, but the referees did cost the Indianapolis Colts the game. It was atrocious. It was horrible. Usually these penalties even out both sides. Those are just 3 of the plays. There were a couple more. The worst one, though, was that one in the end zone where they said his feet were going to be in, and the referee said incomplete. The ref is standing right in the back corner of the end zone. Look at the referee right there in the corner. He is going to signal incomplete, out of bounds. You got to have the guts to stay with that call. Don't let the other officials talk you out of it. I'll tell you, because as a player, I just busted my hump on the field for 60 minutes. I sweated, I bled, I probably got held by an offensive lineman. And you got the referees costing the game. They should not only be suspended, they should be fined too. If they want to fine the coaches and the players, fine the referees. I know they get looked at by Jerry Seaman, and I talked to him earlier, but he said he hadn't looked at the film yet. Haven't heard from him since. Awful, absolutely awful for what players go through to have the officials, and this one, they cost them the game.
Especially this team with a new coach, things not going their way. Up 21 points. What this team finally believes in now, everything that the coaches taught us up until this point, our hard work in practice is finally playing off. We got a very good team on the ropes, and then to have that happen to them where all of a sudden now they go in at halftime 21-17, the one thing they start to believe is what is going to happen to us next. They have nothing to lean on because, A, this is a new coaching staff. This is a new system. Everybody's new here, led by a young new quarterback. So now when they come out, they're not even focused on what they've done all week in practice. They're wondering what calls are going to go against them. At first, before this game, they were looking at that light at the end of the tunnel, and they thought it was a train. They could finally see that the sun was coming up. What Jim Mora should do in a situation like this is this. You've taken everything else, Rep. Here, take my watch, take my rings. I got my car at the airport. When you get back, take that because I don't have anything else. You've taken everything I've had, Mike.
You think we'd have got fined after that game?
Not really how I feel.
I miss Tommy. Tommy, nice, quiet, just kind of makes it. You know, let's not lose a couple of things in this. The 49ers defense has struggled mightily this year. Yes. They look bad again. Look at the numbers they've been giving up. Compare them to last year, and you look every column. The 49ers, even though they have just one loss, have to be careful and maybe making a change here. Antonio Langham, who was burned 3 times for touchdowns, will be benched. Marquez Pope, or the rookie out of Oklahoma State, R.W. McQuarters, will take the free agent Langham's spot in the San Francisco secondary for next week. San Francisco, 1 loss, tied atop the NFC West with Atlanta. Speaking of the Falcons, Chris Chandler, 18 straight games now with a touchdown pass, but the injury also yesterday against New Orleans. Nothing broken, but he's in pain. Bruised left shoulder, bruised ribs. Falcons optimistic he will start Sunday when they play the Jets. As for for the Giants. Their quarterback, Danny Cannell, had a surprising to us surgery today. A small lump was removed from Cannell's chest. His doctor says it's probably a benign growth. The surgery was held off a short time after discovery until this week when the Giants are off. Results to confirm if it is a non-cancerous growth should be done tomorrow, and our best wishes are with a good guy, Danny Cannell. Ahead on Monday Night Countdown, why the start for the men in purple is in some rare offensive air, and we'll show you why the Jets defense will have its hands full against the Pats tonight. That's Jaws Playbook, and it's coming up when you come back.
Get in the zone. The Lazy Boy Comfort Zone at Stevens Furniture in Freehold and Hamilton. Just in time for kickoff, Stevens Furniture has great values on over 100 genuine Lazy Boy recliners, big recliners, leather recliners, even massage recliners. Enjoy the next game in the Comfort Zone of a Lazy Boy recliner, only $3.99. Or this Lazy Boy rocker recliner with storage arm, heat, and massage, only $4.99. Hurry in now to Stevens Furniture in Hamilton and Freehold and score a Lazy Boy Comfort Zone for your home before the next game.
So what has the Republican Congress done? How about a $500 per child tax credit?
It means we'll get a refund next April.
Or health insurance that goes with you when you get a better job.
If you get sick, you don't have to worry.
Even a budget surplus that's helping save Social Security.
Our grandkids deserve the same benefits we have.
Republicans like Mike Pappas are reaching out to find solutions to the problems families face. Call Congressman Pappas. Tell him to keep working for our families.
Sunday Night Football, Bills against Panthers.
Was there ever any buffalo in Buffalo? What? Did any actual buffalo ever roam in Buffalo?
What's your point?
In the olden times, yes.
Olden times? Who's talking about olden times?
A long time ago, the team was named after that rodeo guy, you stoop. Wild Bill Hiccup.
Oh, no. Wild Bill Hiccup.
What am I, a rodeo scholar? His name was Wild Bill.
ESPN Sunday Night Football, the Bills against the Panthers.
This Monday's trip inside the numbers begins with the first win of the June Jones era in San Diego. In the game, the Chargers scored just one offensive touchdown, exactly what they averaged under fired coach Kevin Gilbride. In his 22 games as the Chargers head man, San Diego scored 22 offensive touchdowns. If you take all the NFL head coaches with a minimum of 10 games coached, Gilbride's percentage of offensive touchdowns per game is the lowest for any head coach in the last 50 years. Mr. Last-Minute Heroics Doug Flutie set an NFL mark with yesterday's play. He's the only quarterback in the last 30 years to score 2 game-winning touchdowns in the final minute of play. The other a decade ago as a Patriot against the Colts. How good an offensive start for the 2 remaining unbeatens? Minnesota has scored 207 points in its first 6 games, Denver 203. It is the best opening 6-week point total in 30 years since the '68 Cowboys scored 213 points. The NFL record belongs to the great '58 Colts, who had 234 points in their first 6. The only other time 2 teams have scored over 200 points in the first 6 games of the season, 1964 and 1950.
Kind of interesting. Both of this year's last remaining undefeateds have started 2 different quarterbacks. Viking coach Dennis Green says it's going to be at least 3 more games until we see Brad Johnson even ready to play quarterback for the undefeated Vikes. Johnson's throwing, but he hasn't started running yet till just about this week. Remember, he had the broken bone in his leg. Still, Randall Cunningham guides an undefeated ship after the demolition over winless Washington yesterday. Mike Wilbon talks the QB controversy in his Monday Night Minute.
Okay, Mike. I've got the answer to the question of what to do when Brad Johnson is healthy enough to return to the Vikings lineup. Johnson should just walk into Dennis Green's office and say, Coach, in the best interest of this team, Randall Cunningham should remain the starting quarterback. Much of Minnesota's success this season must be attributed to what the Vikings are doing physically on Sundays, but a lot of it has to do with intangibles, like the unselfishness of Cunningham, who is prepared to go back to the bench, and the environment of trust created by Dennis Green. When Cunningham and Green say Johnson deserves to play, they're demonstrating their commitment to this season. Johnson should demonstrate the same commitment and take his coach and teammate off the hook on this issue. Cunningham isn't just having a fine season, he's been almost perfect. He's thrown 12 touchdown passes and no interceptions, and virtually every decision he makes is the right one. As desperately as Johnson must want to play, the right decision for the Vikings, Mike, could be that he decides for now not to.
Michael, thank you. Back to you in a bit. Ahead, we'll Ben Coates hurt his old coach as he did last year in Tuna Bowl 1. And if you were Terry Glenn and you looked at the film and saw Isaac Bruce being chased by a Jets linebacker last week, wouldn't you be looking forward to 8 o'clock in kickoff? Jaw's Playbook is coming up to explain it all.
Today's Sports Century Classic Moment is brought to you by Wheaties.
Violence in football has been a concern ever since Teddy Roosevelt threatened to abolish the college game. Certainly it's no less dangerous in the pros, with players constantly being carried off the field. But who would expect an umpire to suffer an injury? Today, C.W. Rupp is hospitalized after shooting himself in the hand, signaling the end of the first quarter of a Giants-Steelers game. Rupp will recover and return to action this season.
October 19th, 1941.
There are a whole lot of cereals that don't have a whole lot of whole grain. Of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain, only Wheaties. So only Wheaties gives you 100% whole grain nutrition. Maybe that's why only Wheaties has Tiger Woods.
Whole grain makes the difference.
And 100% whole grain makes it Wheaties.
He admitted to being too hyper for last year's game against Bill Parcells. Drew Bledsoe says steady ship tonight against his old coach. He's been steady, solid, and really good this year. Ron Jaworski, let's talk about the defense that Drew Bledsoe is going to go up against. When you look at the coaches' film from last week, the Jets staff, at least when they looked at it, had to see something that wasn't very pretty. St. Louis put up 30 points and completely controlled the game.
Yeah, they really did, Mike. And in that game, what the Rams like to do is a lot of motion. And they attacked the Jets with that motion. And it caused the coverage to loosen up and created voids in the secondary. The Jets are a predominant zone team, but they mix in, well, kind of a matchup scheme rather than let a receiver run free down the field. Expect to see motion out of the backfield to spread out the Jets' defense. Here, the Rams' Amp Lee will motion long to the sideline. The strong side linebacker, Mo Lewis, and the corner on that side, Aaron Glenn, widen out, while the middle linebacker, Pepper Johnson, moves over the tight end. Look what that does for the Rams. Isaac Bruce is now the slot receiver, working against the linebacker. You gotta be kidding me. This gives Bruce a free release and gets him down the seam much quicker. On the other side, Eddie Kennison will run a go route. That combination route is key because it threatens a deep safety on that side and prevents him from cheating back into the middle. That leaves the middle wide open for Bruce on the in route. Nicely done. And keep in mind, this was first down, so the Jets had their base 4-3 personnel on the field. The Patriots will attack with similar tactics, using Terry Glenn in the slot and Sean Jefferson as the X-receiver. And I can't forget Ben Coates. And in speaking to the Rams after last week's game, they really liked the matchup of their tight end, Ernie Conwell, against the Jets linebackers. Unfortunately, Conwell got hurt early and was out of that game, so they attacked with Amp Lee out of the backfield, matched up against those linebackers. Lee caught 6 balls for 62 yards. A healthy Ben Coates should have a big game in the hash area, Mike.
Oh, man, you are not kidding. If the Rams were happy to have a tight end run him, you got to think the Patriots are. And it goes back to Ernie Zampese, the offensive coordinator. When he was with the Chargers, he had a guy named Kellen Winslow, a tight end. With the Cowboys, Jay Novacek, and now Ben Coates. Good tight ends. And what do? They run the field. They get coverage on that linebacker. They run the middle of the field. That's the threat. They can go deep. Early in the game, you'll see Ben Coates make a long stride down the middle of the field. That's to stretch the linebackers and the defense out. Then he can start following it up with shorter routes underneath. But you want to get your tight end down the middle of the field, make him stretch that defense out. Ben Coates, only 12 catches this year in 4 games, just averaging 3 a game. But it's still the threat. Even if you don't throw the ball to him, having him stretch the field is a huge thing. And one other thing teams aren't doing anymore to the great tight ends, the Ben Coates, the Wesley Walls, his brother. They're not jamming them on the line anymore. Nobody's jamming the tight ends, and it is giving him free reign. If he gets free reign, the wide receivers.
We talk about that week in and week out. Not only the tight ends, they're not holding up the wide receivers. And Josh talked about Terry Glenn playing in the slot. Remember, Glenn is not a physical type player, so look for Troy Brown to move into the slot. He is their best receiver. Most teams play their best receiver in the slot, a la Chris Carter, and you see what that 3 wide receiver does. Right there against the linebacker, Troy Brown abuses him. No hold up by the linebacker, no speed to cover cover in the flat. You're going to see this time and time again, not to mention look for a lot of motion out of Ernie Zampese's offense, because remember, the quarterback position does not have the ability or the flexibility to do a lot of audibles. Ernie has studied these, has broken the Jets down very well. He knows Pepper Johnson, pretty good against the run, no good against the pass.
We spent a lot of warm August nights in the preseason talking about how will Drew adjust to this Ernie Zampese offense. He's done a great job. For more on that, on a perfect New England night, temperature's ideal. Let's bring in Mr. GQ himself, Boomer Esiason, ready to call the game on ABC's Monday Night Football. Nice look, by the way.
Thank you very much, Michael.
You're a sharp guy, you know that. Hey, is Bledsoe really picked up this offense, and it's a great fit for a pocket passer like Drew to have Ernie Zampese at this point in his career?
Well, Mike, I think that Drew Bledsoe looks more relaxed. He looks more poised, and certainly looks like he's having a lot more fun. You know, now if he makes a mistake, he doesn't have a big guy standing over there ready to scream at him when he comes off the field. So I think that has a lot to do with the maturity of Drew Bledsoe. And seriously, Ernie Zampese is a terrific offensive coordinator, and he really didn't get the credit at the end of his Dallas days. But, you know, he has been brought a new offense here for him. He is sitting in the pocket now. He's delivering the ball. And really the big thing for them is that Terry Glenn is healthy. When he is not healthy, their offense kind of goes a little bit south. And now that he's healthy, they use him very well, and Drew seems to be very comfortable with him.
Well, on the other side of the coin, we are all of our experts, at least, are qualified to talk about a lot of things on this show, but no one is as qualified as you to talk about the quarterback position and the New York Jets. It's been this following Joe Namath, and this is 30 years ago, and still talking about being the next guy and who is it going to be. What do you take on this whole Foley-Testaverde situation? Is it something where Bill probably said, if I start Foley, I know if I have to go to Testaverde in October, at least I have a veteran who I know I'm going to get out of him when he plays in regular season games?
Well, I tried, you know, and I couldn't get it done, okay? And I got booted out of there. But the fact of the matter is, I know talking to Glenn Foley, he's very, very disappointed. You know, this is a big game for him because it's up here. Played at Boston College. He certainly wishes that he could still be playing tonight, so he is definitely very discouraged. Now, on the other side of the coin, you have Vinny Testaverde, who is extremely happy about this. And this is a decision I know that Bill Parcells probably agonized over. He believes in Foley, at least he did believe in Foley, but now he knows that he has a proven veteran that he can put into a situation, you know, where he's already won 2 games, and tonight maybe he will be able to light a fire. But I would tell you that we're going to see a very heavy dose of Curtis Martin tonight. I mean, that's been the key ingredient in the last 2 wins for the Jets as opposed to the quarterback.
Yeah, over 30 carries would not be a surprise. See you, Alan, Dan, right after Chris Berman gets things started down in Baltimore. See you later, Boomer.
Okay, Mike, thanks.
As we continue on Monday Night Countdown, how would you grade Bill Parcells' rebuild of the Jets to this point? Your and our opinions later. In the quarterback carousel with the Jets, what happened to move Glenn Foley back to the bench? We'll talk about that a little bit later on.
What's going on?
They're going for the world's record.
I can't wait that long.
Who are you?
Don't mind me. I need to make a call.
You gonna use 1-800-COLLECT?
Of course.
Go, come on.
Good. 1-800-COLLECT is really fast and easy to use.
That's right. It's cheap, too.
Could you do me a favor, then?
Sure.
Move. You're crushing my spleen.
Oh, Pre-Med. 1-800-COLLECT. It's fast, it's easy, it saves.
At last, a mini SUV with enough power to take you anywhere you want to go. And enough space and comfort to make the journey enjoyable. Introducing the all-new V6 Grand Vitara from Suzuki.
Excuse me, is that really a Suzuki? It's very nice.
We're here to protest this blood sport they call jogging. Mile after mile, the ground is being mauled by these clodhopper-clad, sadistic individuals. But we're here to prove that there's a better way. Nike-tuned air. A solution. Cushioning and stability to protect our friend the ground from the agony of defeat. That way, Mr. Lap Happy can get his kicks while the ground gets a massage. And we're not getting up. We're not getting up into the ground. Has fun, too.
Available exclusively at all Foot Lockers and Champ Sports.
Sir Winston Churchill once said of golf, it's a game whose aim is to hit a wee ball into a wee hole with weapons ill-designed for that very purpose. Aye, but the tour keeps on keeping on. We shall fight on the green. We shall fight in the fairway. We shall fight in the roughs and the sand traps. And, Sir Winnie, we'll never surrender.
39 times Ben Coates has caught a touchdown from Drew Bledsoe. That's 4th among active TD tandems. 4 consecutive Pro Bowls. Number 87 looking to light up his old coach tonight. If you're just joining us and looking for SportsCenter on Mondays during the NFL season, the center comes on at 5:45 Eastern. We get going at 6:30 Eastern. Here are tonight's SportsCenter top stories. In a surprise, an arbitrator rules in favor of the NBA owners. The guaranteed player contracts do not need to be paid during the lockout. And Nevada's athletic commission, by a 4-1 vote, says Mike Tyson can fight again in the state. Dan Patrick and Kenny Mayne have full details on the next SportsCenter, which you tune over to as soon as the game is done. Back to the game, and Sal Paolantonio in Foxborough. Sal, great intrigue. It's the only division matchup you can have in the NFL where 2 coaches both get the chance to go against their old employer.
Yeah, Mike, and Drew Bledsoe says this little rivalry developing between the Jets and the Patriots is a lot like the Red Sox and the Yankees. But really, in this game, you can throw that out. Bill Parcells, 2-3 coming into this game, knows that it's very, very important to get a win here for his team's psychological development.
He has a real knack for getting the team ready to go when their back is against the wall. Right now, it seems like that is the case. He's going to have them pumped up. You know, I know the deal personally. Most of this team knows the deal. They're going to be ready to come up here and give us a good shot. So we got to be ready.
They're going to really be jacked up for this game. There's no question that they'll be revved up. So they understand the significance of it as much as we do.
We still have to remember that we're not playing against Coach Parcells. We're playing against his guys. And, you know, individually, I think if we as players get into a guessing game trying to figure out what Coach Parcells is going to do to us, we're losing focus and we will lose the game.
I know it's going to be hostile, and I know about the rivalry, and I know what it's going to be like there. Know all that. But they're not canceling this game. So I have to try to, as best I can, get my team to perform with what I have to work with in that environment against, I think, a real good team.
No player from either team wants to miss this game, Mike. We just got late word that James Farrier, who has missed all of the season except for game 1 with a knee injury, definitely will start at outside linebacker for the Jets. And for the Patriots, Ferrick Collins, left defensive end, who's missed the last 2 games with a sprained ankle. He's in too, Mike.
Good stuff. So Sal could be a Parcells guy. It's game time and you're playing, okay? Good job, Sal. Back to you in a little bit. Just a reminder, you can log on at ESPN.com. Give us your opinion on the bigger picture topic here. Great the job Bill Parcells has done in rebuilding the Jets, and part of that has to do with the quarterback situation. And let's bring in Ron Jaworski. We heard Boomer Esiason before. Ron, how do you assess the way Parcells has handled this Vinny Foley deal?
Well, Mike, I'm a firm believer that to be a playoff team, you must have a definitive #1 quarterback. And when a coach is waffling back and forth who his #1 quarterback is, it sends a mixed signal to his football team, and it could divide the football team. It's week 7, and the Jets still don't know who their offensive leader is. And you cannot establish any consistency in the passing game when a new quarterback pops in the huddle every week. Parcells must commit to either Testaverde or Foley before the season becomes lost for these Jets, Mort.
Well, Jaws, I don't think he's going to waffle anymore. I think it's going to be Vinny Testaverde. I think Parcells, like a lot of great coaches, makes losing a very uncomfortable proposition for his players, and Glenn Foley is 1-7 as a starter under Bill Parcells. Not only that, but I think he's opened his mouth about one time too many when he started to suggest that his record this year was due to the fact that Curtis Martin didn't play in those games. I don't think the Parcells bought it. I know that he's given his quarterback the cold shoulder, Foley that is, but then that's not new. On Friday in practice, get this, about midway through practice, Parcells very unhappy with the way they were practicing, calls his coaching staff over to the corner of the practice field, his training staff over, and they walk off the field and leave the players alone to finish practice. Pepper Johnson actually ran the practice the rest of the way, and all I can tell you is back in New England, I've been told that Drew Bledsoe and Scott Zolak, the backup quarterback, were sharing a few laughs about what it would be like to be with Bill Parcells this week.
Well, a couple of things there, Mort. Told the veterans they needed to be more leaders. I guess Pepper knew what to do because he had probably seen that act before from Parcells during the Giants days. We'll come back to you in a little bit. Also later on this show, backstage, Leslie Visser visits with the running back who came to enjoy a starting role with Parcells in New England. Now he's come back for more tough love, tuna style.
I can make a long run where I make everyone miss and break all kind of tackles, and I get back to the sideline and he's staring at me, and I'm like, I'm not even going to say nothing. I ain't going to look at him. And then eventually I look at him, he's still staring at me. I'm like, what?
We're going to go back to the old Jets days, about a decade ago, when they played at Shea, and the New York Sack Exchange was going up. And Chris Berman will join us in a minute. Take us back to last year's really dramatic and interesting game.
How to speak Australian. Bye. Locksmith. Beer. Foster's, Australian for beer.
You change your oil every 3,000 miles, right? You don't, do you? You push it. Now you're so busy you try to squeeze another 1,000 miles out of your oil. Well, squeeze this. Mr. Do-it-yourself when you have the time. Reformulated Quaker State. Protection beyond 3,000 miles under any driving conditions. Anybody say insurance? It's been tested. And unlike that lazy uncle nobody really likes to talk about, it works. Quaker State. Sensible technology.
Buy a case of Quaker State and save big on these leading car care products at participating retailers.
Right now, you can get a complete pair of great-looking glasses for only $99 at LensCrafters, in your choice of hundreds of the latest frame styles.
LensCrafters $99 complete pair sale.
This is a great offer. People should definitely not miss this.
Hurry, offer ends soon.
You think you got me? Not even close, Sparky. I got you on the ropes. I am taking you down. Ah, see ya. You are dead meat. You are mine. I am grinding you into the ground. Ah! Ah! You are going down. You're going down. Oh, pile driver, slam!
Nintendo Sports. Practice, practice, practice.
Touche.
Thank you. Next.
Howard Sherman.
You'll be a fair and impartial juror in this trial?
Yes, sir. I think I can. I think everybody has the right to a fair trial in this country, and innocent until proven guilty. That's my motto.
Excuse.
If you're going to get out of jury duty,
What?
get out of jury duty. If you're going to get a burger, get a burger. The Monster Burger, only at Hardee's. 2 large, juicy patties with the most bacon and cheese you can get.
You gonna go? Go all out.
A great tradition is reborn on ESPN2. Friday Night Fights, showcasing today's best talent along with classic bouts. This week, Macho Camacho takes on Ken Cigarretti, plus Ali Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle. Friday Night Fights, Friday at 8 on ESPN2.
Time to take our nightly seat in Baltimore's Inner Harbor at the ESPN Zone, where Chris Berman calls Monday nights home. And he joins us now. Hello, Boom.
All right, Michael, thank you. Welcome to Baltimore in the ESPN Zone. I had to escape the shrapnel flying in Bristol because, as you well know up there, we're halfway between Boston and New York. So when the Patriots play the Jets, everything's flying in Connecticut, so you have to duck. I came all the way to Baltimore to escape because, let's face it, this Patriots-Jets rivalry is certainly heated up in the year 2 of the Tuna's departure. That's an understatement. So let's look at last year's 2 meetings, which are 2 of the more interesting games of the '97 season. Week 3, remember, was a Sunday night in Foxborough. The fans were out to grill the Tuna, but it was a seesaw affair that ended 24-24 after regulation time, thanks to a 24-yard touchdown pass from Neil O'Donnell to Keyshawn Johnson with just 37 seconds left to play. The Patriots fumbled the ensuing kickoff. The Jets could have won it in regulation. The Patriots defensive end Mike Jones blocked John Hall's 29-yard field goal attempt in the closing seconds. The night belonged to current Jets running back, but the Pro Bowl running back for the Patriots then, Curtis, my favorite, Martin, who carried 40 times for 199 yards and a score. He certainly was the workhorse in overtime, setting up Adam Vinatieri's 34-yard field goal. Patriots won it narrowly, 27-24. 5 weeks later at East Rutherford, New Jersey, Bill Parcells' team trailed at 12-3 in the third quarter. An ineffective O'Donnell was replaced by Glenn Foley. The former BC product completed 17 of 23 passes for 200 yards, led New York to 3 touchdowns, culminating with a 5-yard touchdown pass to running back Lorenzo Neal. Early in the fourth quarter, that was the difference as the Jets won 24-19. Tonight, Bill Parcells goes with Vinny Testaverde to cool off the red-hot Patriots. But will we see Foley come off the bench to rescue the Jets once again? And what I'm looking for tonight is to see the Patriots' maturity. 1 year removed from the whole Tuna affair, they, on paper, and certainly in the record, have the better team. Will they put all this circus aside and just play better football? We'll learn a lot about the Patriots and their performance tonight. Michael, see you at 8, starting with the blast.
See you in 45 minutes. Chris, coming up, soundtracks get you closer to the game with the coach getting a realistic shot at the job finally. Pete Carroll.
He's always grabbing him the whole time, Tom. He's trying to grab it out of him right there.
Your guy also was feeling him.
Well, that's part of playing ball, right? Hey, get it going now. Have some fun. Kick this butt now. That's where the hammer.
Emotional guy. Speaking of emotions, what happened with Hardy Nickerson and William Floyd yesterday? Mort gives us the scoop on that in a little bit as Monday Night Countdown gets you closer to Vinny Testaverde, who with 300 yards will become the 21st player in NFL history to throw for 30,000 yards in his career. Jets-Pats coming up at 8 Eastern.
Can you guess whose parents drive a Nissan Altima?
Hi, Mom. Hey, buddy.
The remarkably quiet Nissan Altima. Enjoy the ride.
Now lease an Altima GXC for just $229 a month for 39 months with a $999 initial payment.
Today's technologically advanced cars brake better than ever before. But it's up to your tires to translate these advances into stopping power on the road. The Firestone FT70C uses Unity technology to help your car stop when the rain starts. So if you're not driving on FT70C tires with Unity, why not? The Firestone FT70C with Unity Ultimate Tire Technology, built to stop in the wet.
How you doing, Sarge? Okay, folks, what'll it be? What would you like, sweetheart?
A Pepsi, please.
Sorry, we only have Coke. Now you've done it.
You're sorry? Not half as sorry as you're gonna be. I ordered a Pepsi, pal.
She's got a mind of her own.
What's with this guy?
Look, I just thought...
You thought? What you really thought was that I don't know the difference between Pepsi and a Coke, right?
Here's your Pepsi.
Thank you.
Kids say the darndest things.
What are you looking at?
I like this place.
There are times when you can't afford to miss a message. When you get Skyward Plus from SkyTel, you get the message every time, guaranteed. There are times when you can't afford to miss a message. When you get Skyward Plus from SkyTel, you get the message every time, guaranteed.
There is the tuna. Bill Parcells looking to get his team to 500 this season. Jets-Pats. Pretty good game coming up in less than an hour on ABC. Our Monday Night Countdown issue of the night. We're asking you to assess Bill Parcells' rebuild job with the Jets to this point at ESPN.com. Your thoughts and ours a little bit later in the show. Right now, Chris Mortensen rejoins us from Atlanta. Mort, we saw the story going to break. Hardy Nickerson and William Floyd involved in an ugly incident. Nickerson flagged 15 yards on sportsmanlike conduct for what the referee said was spitting. The referee didn't say if he spit at or on William Floyd. What are you hearing about this story?
Well, Mike, I think we're going to have to take up a collection for Hardy. Don't forget that last year, Bill Romanowski was fined $7,500 for spitting on J.J. Stokes. Now, Hardy Nickerson is saying that this was not a deliberate act, that he was just speaking so forcefully that he spit. However, when the referee, who got sprayed, by the way, in this incident, flags you 15 yards, and you have an incident a year ago with William Floyd in which Hardy allegedly spit at William Floyd in the 49ers game when Floyd played for the 49ers, I think it adds up to a fine. He can always appeal and make his case. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
And the bad blood with those guys goes back to week 1 of last year. Right. Troy Aikman and the Cowboys, they are off. All of a sudden, that NFC East has tightened with the Dallas loss at Chicago. Cowboys get Aikman back after the bye?
Yeah, they do. In fact, he should be starting 2 weeks from the night against the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, on Monday Night Football. He will take snaps with the first team starting on Wednesday when they return to practice in pads. They're 99.9% sure that he's ready to go, Mike, so that's what you look for, Troy's return. In Kansas City, by the way, Chester McLaughlin returned to practice for full time today for the Chiefs. He will be in pads for the first time on Wednesday. They expect that he'll be able to line up next Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't know how much, Mike.
Defense didn't look good, giving up 40 to the Pats 8 days ago. Chris, thanks. Talk to you during the week. All right, Mort. You know, let's go back to New England for a second. The lasting image of Pete Carroll during his one season as Jets coach in 1994 was the choke sign on the sideline during the Sunday night game against Miami. That Pete Carroll team was 6-10. Pete was let go, and the Jets hired Richie Kotite. Carroll had a tough path to follow in New England, especially when his Pats were 6-5 last November. But remember, they rallied to make the playoffs, solidifying Pete's role as the leader of this team, as you'll hear again in tonight's soundtracks.
Come on, keep you going all night now. You gotta get some skates on. Hey, let's go pound this down the field now. Come on, knock this ball down the field. Come on, make that play. Can we get it? Come on, baby. Give us one time. Yeah! Woo! Hi, baby! Hey, baby! Woo! They lined up in ace personnel, and it was just a far eye set. We got it. So it's a far eye set, so just make sure you take your time making your call. Come on, do this right now. Touchdown. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. All right, we get warmed up. We just get you warmed up. Nice job, T. That's the way to contribute. That's the way to work it. Nice feet. Nice feet. Woo. The feet look good. Nice job on the whip. That's a great job. Real easy. I'm stealing. Come on, this is more important than the last one. Let's go now. Let's go. We got to go knock out somebody. Oh, ball, 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 ball. Oh, Lord have mercy. That was merciless. My ball. Ball, 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 ball. He got it. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm going to catch that one. Hey, get on top, 31. Get on top. We got to get him down 2-5. That's a way to get down and make your play. Make the dang play. There might not be anybody else there now. It's a good job. Make your dang play. He's grabbing him the whole time, Tom. He's trying to grab it out of him right there.
Your guy also was feeling him.
Well, that's part of playing ball then, right?
Hey, get it going now. Have some fun. Kick this butt now.
Baby. That's the way to hammer it. That's the way to hammer it. Nice job, 4-7. Ernie, take a shot at the end zone down here. We're plenty deep enough on third down if you don't get it here, you know?
Like his enthusiasm. When we come back, Leslie Visser asks Curtis Martin the importance of returning to his NFL home tonight.
I just remember coming out of that tunnel and looking around and seeing all the fans, and I used to get so pumped up, you know. And but this time I'll be coming out the other tunnel, you know, and looking at the fans from a different point of view.
Making Curtis Martin's job a little bit easier tonight would be a good game out of Keyshawn Johnson, the #1 pick in the draft 2 years ago. He and the Jets get ready for the Pats. We go backstage after this.
Do you really want free balloons? Popcorn? Want me to clown?
No, this is where you'd rather be. And Coleman Buick Pontiac GMC can put you there. We sell the trucks that do the things you want to do. Pleasantly, easily. Sierra Extra Cabs from just $17,998. We know you don't need the hype. You need a great deal from a great dealer. Coleman Buick Pontiac GMC on Spruce Street.
Oh, hi, honey. Look. Hi, honey.
Hey, look at that one. She's mine. Nothing's quite as touching as watching your baby. And there's nothing quite as comforting as an auto service center we're seeing is relieving.
My God.
STS does tires, brakes, wheel alignments, and much more on anything with 4 wheels. Guaranteed service, even scheduled maintenance on vehicles under warranty. That's a difference you can see and trust. STS Tire and Auto Centers.
My God.
It's a trust thing.
I'll tell you what, I'm basically just the same guy I was when I was growing up in Walla Walla. All this attention, the money, it just doesn't matter to me. You know, I'd just rather get together with some buddies and go fishing.
Gucci watch?
Yeah, I bought it in the Caribbean.
St. John's?
No, St. Bart's. I just got a villa down there. They got the best French cuisine down there. Vichyssoise to die for.
French people make great wine.
Yeah, they do, but you've got to try a Tuscan Chianti. It's awesome. Love it.
26 of Curtis Martin's 38 career touchdowns have come at Foxborough, where he returns as a Jet tonight. Time for Backstage, and here's Leslie Visser. Hi, Leslie.
Hey,
Mike. Hi, guys. You know, the fans here are so tough. Curtis was just warming up behind me, and one guy yelled out, "Curtis, why don't you pull your hamstring?" So, a great homecoming. Well, Mike, as you know, the three most important things here in Boston are politics, sports, and revenge. I worked here for 10 years, I know that. And nothing would please Curtis more than to beat the team that practically paid him the minimum wage and didn't keep much of an effort to keep him. Well, Curtis told me this week he's adjusting to life in New York and being reunited with the volcano known as Bill Parcells.
Tell me, when you came to play in New York, what did you think it was going to be like?
You have to have a thick skin. I believe I'm blessed in the sense that I've had Parcells as a rookie and my second year, so my thin has developed to be very, very thick.
You were never disappointed or hurt by the fact that Bob Kraft was in no hurry to sign you?
I haven't any remorse or regrets against anyone on the New England Patriots. What made the decision easy for me was simply that it was Parcells. Had it been another team, another place, another coach, you know, I would have fired.
What kind of a player do you have to be, or person do you have to be to succeed with Bill Parcells?
He's going to say whatever is on his mind to whoever. As a rookie, I don't think I took it like that initially. I just thought to myself, like, this guy's crazy. You know, I'm like, this guy's a trip. Time out! No matter what I do, there's something that he has wrong to say. You know, it's like, I can make a long run where I make everyone miss and break all kind of tackles, and I get back to the sideline and he's staring at me. And I'm like, all right, I'm not even gonna say nothing. I ain't even gonna look at him. And then eventually I look at him, he's still staring at me. I'm like, what?
Well, that's 2 stupid plays we've made in about the first 5 minutes.
Can you imitate him? Oh, this would be a great time.
You know, he'll walk into the meeting and he'll say, from watching the film yesterday, I have no idea why some of you do the things that you do. As I always say, dumb players, and he'll look at someone specific and give them that blue-eye stare, do dumb things. Curtis, running out of bounds when we're trying to run the clock out is a dumb thing. And then it's like our whole team, smart players very seldom do smart things.
Oh! Does Bill hate players being injured, even though he's got to know that it happens?
Yeah, it's just the fact that I believe he still hates to see you in that training room. You know, when I'm in there and he walks in there, I'm like, oh my God, I got to hear it now.
Has it been hard for the players to not know what your quarterback situation is?
No. I believe that our players are very confident in either one because we've seen both of them get the job done. So it's almost like the quarterback situation, we see both of them as one.
Foley?
Yeah, or, you know, Benny Foley.
Do you have one image of yourself up there in Foxborough that you've kind of replayed in your head?
I just remember coming out of that tunnel and looking around and seeing all the fans, and I used to get so pumped up, you know. And but this time I'll be coming out the other tunnel, looking at the fans from a different point of view and with a different purpose in mind.
How much of an advantage is it that you know that defense so well?
It's definitely an advantage. What's more of an advantage than knowing the defense is knowing some of the players, the way they perform, the way they, you know, certain moves. I'm friends with a lot of the guys. You know, I haven't lost one friend on that team. We still may talk every once in a while, but I don't think we'll be talking this week.
So you think Ted Johnson, because he's your good friend, will just say, oh, just pass me by?
No, I think Ted Johnson, because he's my good friend, will try to, like, knock me into next week.
Well, Curtis knows that Johnson is tough in the middle and that he faces the speed of McGinnis and Slade if he tries to turn the corner. Well, Curtis is not 100%. He got heat and massage and stimulation all week. He wasn't allowed to talk about his injury, or Bill Parcells said he would fine him. But I know he's not 100%. But Sterling, look for him to carry the ball at least 30 times.
I know the New England Patriots actually look for him to carry that much. And I'm looking at Chad Eaton, the defensive tackle, and Henry Thomas, the nose guard. I'm watching how they protect linebacker Ted Johnson so he can hit hit Martin for no gains. He's going to play up near the line of scrimmage. He is not going to be involved in a lot of pass coverage. Of course, they're going to zone blitz the Jets, but look for him to play close to the line of scrimmage. He usually lines up at 5 yards. I think tonight he lines up at 3.
And I tell you what, they are this outside running game for the Jets. Tell you what, outside running game. Forget the inside running game. They want to go outside. Their strength is their tackles. Jason Fabini, Jumbo Elliott. Look at Fabini first. The 4th rounder, 318-pounder. He's a mauler. What he doesn't have in skill, he makes up for the fact he wants to rip your head off. And Jumbo Elliott, of course, the other side, he's the old guy, the 11th-year pro, the trickster. There's Fabini again, shoving to the outside, giving plenty of room to Martin on the outside. But one guy to also keep your eye on, watch the center, Kevin Mawai. This guy came over from Seattle. The center, a great athlete. He pulls. Dermontti Dawson, the all-pro center from the Pittsburgh Steelers, is a pulling center. Mawai does the same thing. Watch this guy. It's great. He snaps the ball. Somebody blocks this guy. He pulls around to the outside. But the Jets, I guarantee, will run to the outside, not up the middle.
Kevin Mawai's work on Zach Thomas, one of the reasons the Jets had success when they beat Miami. Try to duplicate that, getting him on Ted Johnson tonight. Try to get Curtis Martin the ball often. That's part of the game plan, but here's part of the problem. This year, the more he gets it, unlike your big buck, multi-million-dollar free agent backs, his productivity goes down sharply after carry 20. So you want to get him the ball, that's great. But will he be able to deliver? That's the question the Jets hope to reverse the answer on tonight. As Monday Night Countdown continues, we'll look at the man who replaced Martin in New England, Robert Edwards, who may be a more complete back than Curtis Martin. As we get closer to kickoff, one of the players watching the Pats wide receivers, Aaron Glenn, the first Jet elected to the Pro Bowl in the 90s when he was picked last year. Be right back.
What's the matter, clown boy? You need to make a call, but you don't have the change. Just use 1-800-COLLECT. Go ahead, make some calls. You'll save a bundle. That's great. Mine's 1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening.
It's like this. We like big engines, big tires, and riding up high. That's why we don't make cars. We think you'll see more of the world in a 215-horsepower Isuzu Trooper. Lease one for $289 a month for 48 months with $784 due at lease signing. Because the world is big, and cars just aren't.
How to speak Australian. Hors d'oeuvres. Beer. Foster's, Australian for beer.
College football Saturday. First at noon, the Big House comes alive when Ty Streets and the Wolverines host freshman sensation Antoine Randall L. and the Hoosiers. Then at 7, offensive powers collide as Peter Warwick and the Seminoles ride into Atlanta, hoping to outgun the strong-armed Joe Hamilton and the Yellow Jackets. College game day at 11, followed by Indiana versus Michigan at noon, Florida State versus Georgia Tech at 7, Saturday on ESPN.
I'm John Randall of the Minnesota Vikings. Here, young people are learning to climb, not just physically, but academically, through this unique United Way supported program. Working together, we're solving today's problems through the United Way. The NFL, the United Way, and you, the power of teamwork.
New England Patriots are 3 games over 500 this year, and Pete Carroll's 3 games over 500 for his coaching career, 21-18, including 15 wins and 23 tries with the Pats. Let's talk more about tonight's game. The guys have left me because they need to show and tell. Michael, let's start with up front and something you know the best, pass rushing in this game.
Well, for the Patriots in their pass rush, you can't really say up front. Now, they have 16 sacks on the year. The top 5, 4 of them are linebackers. The other one, Willie McGinnis, I don't really know if he's a defensive end. I think he's a linebacker as well. Let's check out where they rush. It's not up the middle. It's on the outside. Willie McGinnis on the outside. Chris Slade on the outside. You don't see much of a push in the middle, so keep an eye. This is where they like to come, the outside of the field. You see not much in the middle. Here comes McGinnis on the outside. That's where they get most of their pressure. Here, you're going to get a slant. Henry Thomas comes inside. Here's McGinnis at the nose. He's going to loop around, and then more pressure out here again. Outside being the key. Watch the stunt. Henry Thomas down. Here comes McGinnis around. again with the sack. Now, remember I talked about he's not always a defensive end. Here he is right here as a linebacker. He's going to eat up the guard and the tackle. Now he helps Chris Slade come around the end for the other sack. McGinnis again standing like a linebacker, eats up those blocks. There's Slade around the end for the sack. So not a big push up the middle with the Patriots in their rush. They love it from the outside. They move McGinnis all over the place. They need to get quick pressure, so they can't throw that ball downfield.
Well, I tell you what they do. They do a great job in their zone blitz, and that's why I think you can look for a guy like Keyshawn Johnson to move inside like he did in the first game and try and create a mismatch. Going down inside, what happens is he gets the safety to cover him, and a lot of the corners don't feel, they kind of lose him. He gets caught up in the wash. Thrown away from Ty Law. Ty Law is having a great year, and the one thing in his zone blitz scheme is he kind of sets you up a la Deion Sanders. He has pretty good speed, but he makes you think he's not really in the game. And, Mike, if they throw near him and they hit him in the chest, he may score with it.
Well, you talk about throwing away from Ty Law, or throwing at him. You may have to throw away from him. Let me show you why. Ty Law has asked this year. He did a lot of track work in the offseason to become quicker, a better DB. He said, give me the best guy. Give me that other wide receiver head up all year. Let me take away half the field like Deion does. Look at the good names he's faced and look at the poor numbers they've produced, especially the last 4 games, just 7 catches allowed on Ty Law. The Law has won in the New England secondary. So that means the owner, Sal Paolantonio, back in the backfield for the Jets and perhaps in the backfield for New England, because if Robert Edwards plays keep away, the Jets could be forced to pass, and is forced right into Ty Law's hands.
Michael, there were a lot of moans and groans in New England when Robert Edwards was taken in first round by the Patriots this year and expected to replace Curtis Martin in the backfield because he was injury prone during college. And then he had that groin injury in the preseason, which kept him out of a lot of the preseason. But you know what? During the regular season, he has silenced all of the critics.
I feel good because we're winning, you know. I think I'm doing good things and I'm getting better every week. But, you know, I'm not trying to outdo Curtis and what he did here. I'm just trying to help the team continue to win games.
After years of not being able to hit Curtis Martin during practice, veteran members of the Patriots defense say the reunion with Martin in a Jets uniform will be bittersweet.
It's going to be different playing against Curtis because, you know, I mean, before he was untouchable. Man, you just wanted to hit him, you know, one good time, but you weren't allowed, or you might see a fine in your locker, or you might be fired the next day. But I mean, because that's how valuable he was to the team.
We know Curtis's style. He's very slashy, very fast, explosive when he gets around the corner. So we know what he's going to be bringing to the table, and we'll be able to hit him a little bit now. Now it's not going to be like, don't touch Curtis and let him go through the line. Just stick your arm out and let him know you're there. Now he can really know we're there.
You know, it's like playing against a lot of your friends, you know. That's always something that, you know, gets you extra pumped up, that you're playing against people who you know, personally.
It's still like a brother-brother relationship, you know, even though he's come back into town. Everybody on the team has a lot of love for Curtis.
They may miss camaraderie and leadership from Curtis Martin, but Robert Edwards has certainly filled the role on the field. Edwards has rushed for more yards than Martin this year. He's averaging more per carry than Curtis Martin. He also has 5 touchdowns this year. Curtis Martin, Mike, last year had 4 all season.
Sal with a touchdown tonight. Edwards 6 in 6 games. That would set an NFL record, eclipsing Joe Cribb's record for most touchdowns at the start of a career per game, 1 apiece. 1 at least, I should say. Sal, thanks. One last check with you later on, if time permits, in a head-distant replay where Mark Gastineau was popular and the sack exchange gave the gang in green a personality. Drew Bledsoe's going to try to get away from the relative no-names that now populate the Jets' defensive line. Bledsoe, good career numbers against New York, tries to add to them this evening.
I'm not here because I want to be. No, I have to be. Because the ground can't speak for itself. It can't say to the basketball player, get off me. It can't say to the runner, do you mind you're stepping on my head? These seem like dark days, but there's a song of hope. Nike Tuned Air. Cushioning and stability for the individual athlete, no matter what the sport. This ain't a shoe, it's a pillow. A pillow that's gonna protect our sweet, precious ground. Spread the word.
Available exclusively at Champ Sports and all Foot Lockers.
Jeffrey? Jeffrey! Jeffrey?
Survival will become second nature, especially after 10 levels of deadly pitfalls, evil warlords, and the occasional freakish monster.
Jeffrey!
Ninja from IDOS Interactive.
PlayStation.
Dodge Ram was the first and is still the only full-size pickup to be ranked most appealing by J.D. Power & Associates. It was the first to offer a 10-cylinder engine, and it was the first quad cab. And now, for the first time, we're offering $1,000 back on the truck that changed the rules. But hurry, this is one first that won't last. $1,000 cash back on 98 Rams ends November 9th.
Whether it's on the network or the net, it's ESPN. Log on to ESPN.com. It's your gateway to sports on the internet. Get a total fix anytime you log on. Plus, read Vitale, Gammons, Mortensen. Get scores, updates, breaking news, and get smart fast. ESPN.com. Log on today.
A little too much curve?
Yeah.
In case you haven't realized, Bill Parcells and Curtis Martin returned to Foxborough tonight. Here's what the Jets have given up in compensation to sign those two guys, Cedric Shaw and Damon Denson, draft picks in '97. The '98 picks, the compensation for Martin, Robert Edwards, the irony there, and another guy in the backfield, former Michigan fullback Chris Floyd, also Tony Simmons, tall and talented receiver from Wisconsin, who may see more of the field as time goes on. And remember, there's a #1, the Jets #1 from the Parcells compensation comes over for this year's draft. So that's part of the question that you need to consider when we've asked the question tonight at ESPN.com to grade the job that Bill Parcells has done in rebuilding the Jets. Well, some of your answers. Let's read it. First, from Mike in Franklin, Mass. Thanks to the compensation Bob Kraft received, we just showed you some of that, Parcells is lacking the draft picks that allowed him to rebuild the Patriots. In this gentleman's opinion, a C-. It's Mike of Franklin, Mass. How about this guy from New York? Out of 10, I would give Parcells an 8. The Jets play for Parcells like they didn't do for Kotite. He motivates them. So obviously you could tell the first guy was a Pats fan, the second guy was a Jets fan. Mike Wilbon is neutral. We bring in the columnist in the Washington Post for your grade on the Parcells retooling of the Jets.
Well, Mike, even though the Jets are 2-3 going into tonight's game, I don't see how you can be overly critical of the Parcells rebuilding effort given how far this team had to go. 2 victories was unachievable just 2 years ago. The predictions that the Jets would win the AFC East might have been lacking a little bit in perspective. We shouldn't forget the Jets didn't just have one bad 1-15 season before Parcells arrived, but were 3-13 in '95, 6-10 the year before that. Parcells himself told the team before this season it would be more difficult to go from 9 wins to 10 or 11 than it was to go from 1 to 9. Now, the criticism that you hear most often has to do with the Jets needing an A-level quarterback, but there's no way to acquire everything on the shopping list for a team that needed as much as the Jets did. The worst you can give Parcells after 21 games is an incomplete, but a record of 11-10, given where the Jets were 2 years ago, merits an A. And Sterling, I may be grading on the curve a little bit, but I'd say an A.
Well, I mean, and that's you're entitled to grade on the curve there, Michael. But I tell you one thing Parcells does bring to the table is loyalty. If you show you can play for him somewhere else, he brings you in, and regardless of Otis Smith, who might have gotten torched in New England, brings him in anyway. But I tell you what, today's players cannot handle the psychological warfare that Bill Parcells portrays on them week in and week out, a la Glenn Foley. A lot of guys just cannot handle that.
You're right. I mean, he's a throwback coach. I mean, he's got guys Pepper Johnson, Keith Byers, Jumbo Elliott. Those are the kind of players he wants, and he tests you mentally. You heard Curtis Martin saying, he stared at me on the sideline. I wouldn't look at him. You got to look back in his face. I mean, he's like a master looking at a dog. Look at him, say, you know, what do you want? What's the problem? Not be disrespectful, but stand up to him, find out the problem, and get in his face. And you're right, he wants 53 players like that. He can't find 22 like that. The
problem in this whole situation of that warfare that he does to players, Mike, is the fact that 3 weeks from now, he may need Glenn Foley because of an injury, and Glenn Foley may not be there for him.
Well, the one thing he doesn't have that he had with the Giants and the Pats was a franchise quarterback, Bledsoe and Sims was the guy who stood up to him.
Absolutely.
And the respect for both grew from those confrontations. One other we have to share with you from ESPN.com, a Redskins fan who had this to say. I give Parcells a C+, but that fan added, he needs a quarterback, and tell him when he finds one to come to Washington, bring the quarterback with him. Well, Debbie, you and the rest of the Redskins fans, you can rest easy. Your team has the week off this week as they try to find the solutions. Thanks for participating on our issue of the night. And ahead, distant replay when Joe Klecko typified the style of the Jets pass rushers, the sack exchange.
We were just a bunch of lunch-pail guys that were going to work that day, you know what I mean? And we used to go out and just kick butt.
Hoping to kick butt Patriot style, Terry Glenn leads the team in receptions with 23. He'd like to prove something to Parcells, too. Distant replay coming up next.
Hey, Mr.
science. Ever wonder what a hard-working engine goes through? It gets the high revving I drove over the mountain because it was their guts kicked out of it. With abuse like that, you don't want to take chances. This is Quaker State 4x4, a synthetic blend for hard-working engines made by guys with more college degrees than they've had dates. It's been tested. For pure maximum protection, there's nothing better. I wouldn't lie to you. They're not paying me enough. Quaker State, sensible technology. What more do you need to know?
I should have listened to my mother.
When you're lost, the Acura TL can help.
Destination on the left.
It's gotta be a place that's still open.
No.
Yes, there.
You're kidding. When a craving strikes, the TL can help. And when something comes between you and your destination, hospital, detour, the TL will get you there.
Keep right.
Introducing the new TL with the satellite-linked navigation system from Acura.
Some people call it retirement planning. I think of this as future construction. Year by year, block by block, until... It's our dream house.
Beautiful. But I was hoping we could afford to travel.
This plan can help make it happen. We can even make sure you've got worry-free income for life.
AXA, dynamic vision, equitable, a trusted resource. Call us. Equitable is a member of the global AXA group.
I know you like music. So, how'd you like to win 100 new CDs for free? 1-800-COLLECT is giving away a set of 100 new CDs for each day. Pick any CDs you want. Just dial 1-800-COLLECT for a chance to win. That's right. Every completed 1-800-COLLECT call is an automatic entry for a chance to win 100 CDs. And there's a new winner for every day. So dial 1-800-COLLECT, the way to call Collect, to win 100 CDs.
Brian Cox, whose addition caused some controversy, but his performance has been consistent and quiet, something the Jets need and they hope for more of tonight. Between Joe Namath and Bill Parcells, the Jets have truly been a team with no personality and minimal success. Just 7 winning seasons in the 30 since their Super Bowl III victory. Frightening numbers. The one period of success, though, was in the early 80s, the last years in Shea Stadium, when the Jets' success was defined by their defense. The group of front four with a catchy title, the New York Sack Exchange. We remember them in tonight's Distant Replay.
In 1981, the New York Jets fielded the most dominant defensive line in the history of the franchise. A front four whose on-field success encouraged the league to officially keep track of a new statistic for 1982, the quarterback sack.
Lining up on Sunday, it started to be fun every Sunday. Whether you won or lost, you knew going into the game that you were going to get some sacks.
In fact, the Jets recorded 66 sacks in 1981, then the second greatest total in NFL history. Joe Klecko, Marty Lyons, Abdul Salam, and Mark Gastineau were celebrities. And as a publicity stunt, they would make a special appearance on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
And we really thought, well, this can be a photo opportunity, a couple of TV cameras, take this quick shot, and that would be it. Well, the Stock Exchange actually came to a halt when those guys came on the floor.
And I believe that day trading stopped for almost 10 minutes or so. People were screaming and yelling and carrying on from up on top, and the guys on the floor went wild. It was fantastic.
While the Stock Exchange suffered a downturn, the Sack Exchange was closing in on record highs. Finally, after a decade of losing, the fans at Shea Stadium had something to get worked up about.
It was like a blue-collar bunch of people, that rooted for us, and it was like, that's what we were. I based it on, we were just a bunch of lunch pail guys that were going to work that day, you know what I mean? And we used to go out and just kick butt.
Joe Klecko was their working-class hero. The former truck driver racked up 20.5 sacks in 1981, tossing quarterbacks around like rag dolls. He remains the only player in league history to make the Pro Bowl at 3 different positions.
Joe Klecko is the best defensive lineman overall that I've ever seen, and certainly ever played against.
Everything for me was always straight up field. I was never real fancy. There wasn't a whole lot of Fred Astaire in me as a defensive lineman.
No, the dancing would be left to Gastineau. His post-sack theatrics humiliated opponents and angered teammates because Mark's obsession with getting sacks often left him vulnerable to the run.
Go to the right where Gastineau is. You go inside him because he's upfield trying to get the glory by rushing the quarterback and leaving himself and his teammates vulnerable as hell to the run.
And he had a one-track mind. He was a great promoter of himself, and that got him into a lot of trouble.
There was backbiting going on in that team, and there was one back that kept getting bitten, and that was the one that belonged to Mark Gastineau. Nobody liked him. In fact, they couldn't stand him because he was one of the more selfish players I've ever seen. It was me, me, me.
I run a 4.5 40, which is very fast for somebody my size, which is about 280 pounds right now, 6'5".
I don't think that there's anybody out there that doesn't want to look good. I got a little bit too consumed at first when I started looking good, when I could see my abdominal muscles, and I'm sure that my wife got sick of looking at me looking in the mirror.
It's just his philosophy of life was completely different from mine. I didn't socialize with him. There was no interacting off the field. But I respected him as a professional athlete and expected him to do his job on Sunday.
That's right, defense! Defense! Let's go!
The defense pushed the Jets all the way to the '82 championship game. But a heroic effort by the sack exchange could not avert a 14-0 loss.
To have things go sour for you, I think we could not rebound from that loss.
The sack exchange really had a starring run of only 2 years. But for its members, that sonorous nickname has left an indelible mark.
Even when we're old and gray, you know, because we didn't win a Super Bowl, the one thing in our careers will be remembered will be we were at the top of the hill when we were the sack exchange. And that was it for us.
It's an honor to say, hey, you know, in 1981, we had something that was special. Special to the fans, and if it wasn't special to you as a player, then you're missing something.
Well, as you probably know, Mark Gastineau has had a series of off-the-field problems in the ensuing decade and a half since his on-the-field stardom. Today, Gastineau surrendered to New York City police, charged violating a court order to stay away from a woman he's accused of hitting. An Associated Press report says Gastineau appeared, quote, disheveled, unquote, as he was let out of the station house in New York late this afternoon. Gastineau is to be arraigned this evening. He was arrested 6 weeks ago, charged with assaulting a woman in her Manhattan apartment back in August.